Hey folks, Jonathan here. Alright, bought me a truck. It's a 93 Chevrolet 3500. Got a 5.7 350 TBI throttle body injected, MB 4500 5-speed, PTO, back to a Holmes 440 mechanical bed, mechanical extend, mechanical winch, and I really wanted an 88 or older, but I found this one at a deal and it's already titled as a wrecker. So we're going to eventually here pull the bed off this one and pull the bed off the 79 Ford and put that hydraulic bed on here, because I need something with just a hydraulic boom and no wheel lift to be in the way, and I don't need a sling. I just want to use it as a yard truck, or possibly take it somewhere to pick and maybe load when I'm loading a steam engine or something like that, and it would be a good little truck for that. So what we've got is a truck that's been sitting for quite a while, as you can see from the paint and the windows. I don't know how long. I don't think it's been sitting that long, years, but I don't know how many years. But anyway, so far what we found is wasp nests and mud daubers, of course, a bunch of leaves, of course, but the it's not. I put a battery in it, cranked it over, no starting. I got a feeling that there's no fuel coming. Now I have not tried anything to put gas in or anything like that in the throttle body, so I'm going to assume that it's fuel and not fire issue, but I probably need to get a little gas and pour in there. I might have some somewhere, and then if we can make for sure what it is, I think I pulled this cover off. We're going to check the relay, we're going to check the power coming to the relay, check the fuse. I hadn't even looked at it yet, and it is good. So what happened with this truck, the reason that it hasn't been driven and the problem with it. So the guy that had this, of course, he's passed away now, but he actually paid a guy to change the change the clutch in it, pulled the transmission out, and I noticed that there's a box inside the truck with a new fork, and they was having some issues somehow with that. Got it back together. They claim that they don't think the fork is in the throwout bearing. So basically what it comes down to is transmission is going to have to come back out. Now, how I know that they're not giving me a line, you know, of BS here, the Allen wrench set to bleed the clutch is still sticking up in it. So that's where they stopped at. PTO shaft is missing. The U-joints and stuff's there, but the shaft's missing going back to the drive for the bed, which don't matter because we're going to be using a separate pump, a hydraulic pump, of course, and I want to see if we can get this thing started. So that's our next problem. Don't think anything's gotten unplugged. It does crank over good and all that good stuff. There is a few wires hanging down underneath that I don't think would have anything to do with not starting. I think it's just a fuel pump issue, or possibly a relay, but probably fuel pump. So we're going to start by testing. We're going to test this orange wire for power, and once we test the orange, we can check the back right wire furthest back on the far side for ground. So it's been quite a while since I messed with one of these, but this orange wire coming in here is your power, and the ground would be the back right. So we'll make sure that they're, you know, up and rolling. And you know, years back I used to work on these a lot, but it's been a long time. So we're going to see if we can get this figured out. If not, I can pull the pump. The good thing about the pump is I don't think I got to do much of anything to get, yeah, it's right here, but I think I can maybe get it out, hopefully without any big issues. Yeah, I think I can. We'll see. All right. Okay, I'm going to start by testing my voltmeter here. Can't find my test light. I found one test light and the bulb was missing. That don't make any sense. Alright, so we're 12.5 volts, 12.3 volts. So I've got the key on, and we have got same thing, 12.2526. Alright, put it on our ground, and we got a good ground. Okay, so far everything's checking out good. I'm going to crank this thing over, and maybe I can go back and look at the video and see whether this thing, I don't think it's putting any fuel in now. I ran into this one time before. I actually went up almost to Washington, D.C. and bought a wrecker. and it wouldn't run. And I went prepared to drive it back, so I went up and had to get it running, and it was pumping what looked like fuel fine, and the guy said it was, but it was pumping water. Wrecker beds, if you notice that was in the open, are notorious for getting water in the system, so you got to be careful. Maybe I'll be able to see it from here. Let me see. Would it help me to zoom in some? Let me see. Alright, I could see nothing, so we're going to put some fuel in it. And see what happens. This is 2-cycle gas. Alright, I'll leave you out here. Alright, so I don't know what's going on. We're not firing it all or something. Alright folks, I had ran into a problem. The engine started locking up and it started squealing pretty bad while it was turning. I took the belt off and it didn't help. Alternator is a little loose there, but and sounds terrible, but I don't, that wasn't the problem. So got to looking around. I don't know if you can see it or not. There is a bolt that is stuck between the harmonic balancer and power steering bracket, and I do not know how it got in there, but it's rubbing. I seen the shiny spot on the balancer, and that was how I found it. So I'm going to try to get that thing out of there. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try. Alright, so I got it out. Maybe it'll turn over a little better now. Had me worried. Much better. Alright folks, so we're not getting any fire at all. Number 1 spark plug wire, put it up here, put a nail in it, and where I could see it, and I've cranked it over and nothing. We're going to check for power, make sure we got power going to the coil. Don't see any other grounds. The wiring is a mess on this thing. Not the factory wiring, but the added on mess that they've got. Grounds are very important on throttle body. So you got to make sure that they're all hooked up. Stuff like this wired together is not good. Definitely got to make sure you got a good ground. They was running a lot of lights in there, and they looks like they used like 2 different color of wire for everything, and just black taped everything. No crimps, no solder, no nothing. So I'm going to look up under and see the wires that are down. I know the ground's coming from the engine to the bell housing. I'm wondering if these guys, so that transmission comes off the bell housing. I'm wondering if maybe what they done, because I'm not going to say that it was it would have been reputable mechanics. That's the best I can come up with there. I don't think it would have been a reputable person that done this job. So what I'm guessing is they thought they were going to put a fork in it, and they probably just pulled the transmission, left the bell housing on, and then tried to hold that throwout bearing up in place while they slid that transmission in, and probably was the whole issue. So I need to get up under this thing and check the wires under there, because there is some stuff hanging down, and see what all that is first. Probably just end up ripping all of their wires out. You can see all these white wires. Well, there's a bunch, there's 4 whites and 1 yellow, and they're going into everything. And then we got all of this mess here and switches, and I don't know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches, and I don't know what any of them do. That one there turns it on. There's no rotating overhead lights. There's some backup lights and stuff, but I don't. It's just a mess, is what it is. To be honest with you. 5 switches, and none of them really go anywhere good. I can tell you that. So, oh my goodness, didn't pay no attention to this. Yeah. So we got a bunch of different. You see backup lights there. Probably some backup lights here. Oh look, the parking lights are on. Let's see. Oh, okay, I did turn them on, didn't I? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a load of lights, and there's no overhead light, but there probably was one. Don't see any relays used either for anything, so don't surprise me. All right, well, let's get into this thing a little further with the firing. All right, folks, we got her up in the air here. Holy moly. Okay, these are all taillight wires here, and then these are all, they're added on wires. Got some running to the back too. Oh, what a mess. Okay, so I got this thing chained and on the forks. You can see part of the chain hanging down, so I'm not worried a bit about it going anywhere. Looks like that PTO shaft was a octagon, which, like I said, it's no big deal because we're not using this bed. See, they got the drive shaft back in the truck. Oh, new bolts holding the carrier bearing up. More of the messy wiring that needs to go. All that wiring needs to be just ripped out of there completely. Here's our PTO cable hanging down, not hooked up. Cross member's not bolted in all the way. There's only 2 bolts in it, and it's just hanging there. So, job was never finished. One thing about this truck I see, from all the way there, all the way up through, this frame's been plated. And plated all the way back to here, and then plated with a vertical. And this is the only place that would, you know, these things would give problems. And a wrecker, it really has to be plated good. So they've done a really good job on this truck, and I noticed that when I bought it. That's one of the reasons I didn't hesitate. Price was right, of course, but all right, let's get a little farther up under here, see what else we got messing up here. We got some wires hanging down that, probably reverse back up, all that good stuff. So I'm guessing, probably from the looks of that, I'm probably right. I don't think they probably didn't take the, yeah, I'm sure they didn't, because all the bolts are back in it. They didn't take the bell housing loose from the engine. They just went and slid this transmission off from the bell housing and then tried to put a throwout bearing in there. And it's rough. You got to try to keep that throwout bearing hanging in there. And it was my understanding that they didn't get it on the fork, or it came off the fork when they put it in, and now they couldn't get it to work. And as you can see, there is there's an Allen wrench that's stuck into the bleeder. Now what I'll do is I'll order a new master cylinder, clutch master cylinder, and clutch slave cylinder with the line, because I can already see they have cut the line and had, let me see, yeah, they still got it. They got compression fittings on the line. And is it even hooked up? I can't see this. No. Yeah, so they don't even have it hooked up. But the problem with that is if you have the clutch in and you lose a compression fitting and you're sitting at a stoplight or something, this thing's liable to take off and hit the car in front of you. And you don't need that stuff. I mean, that's just uncalled for stuff. So I see the O2 sensor's not hooked up. And that would be this wire. And then one of these will be backup wire. I don't think this has got anything to do with our issues that we're having. I just thought maybe there was a ground loose or something, but I can already see that they have not had this bell housing off, so it's not a problem. Let's see. Yeah, that works good. That's good because we're going to run this back to a pump. I don't have a PTO that fits this that has the direct mount pump, but that's okay. Everything else looks fine. I don't think that any of this is an issue. These wires, like I said, are terrible, but there's really nothing you can do about it. So I don't know if it's because I hooked the speed sensor and stuff back up, but it started firing. It wasn't firing great, but it's firing. Okay, so what we've got here now, pour a little fuel in. There we go. She's running, but she's not pumping any fuel. Definitely got fuel issues. I don't think the fuel's bad. Fuel pump's not running, I don't believe. I hadn't heard it anyway. Yeah, I don't know. So let's start doing some testing and see if we can figure out why the fuel pump's not pumping. All right. Well, she runs really good as long as we pour gas in it. I think our problem is our fuel pump. Our tank is rusty inside. So we're going to pull a tank, maybe order one, and a new fuel pump. See if we can get her straightened out. So I'll show you how it goes. All right. Okay folks, I'm back on the wrecker here and it still needs washed. So what I done is I pulled the fuel tank off and I was going to try to clean it out. I'd bought a new fuel pump, as you can see. Not just a pump, but I bought the entire unit because this one's pretty rusty. And I kind of want the gas gauge to work on this thing. So this tank was unusually dry. When I say dry, I mean there was nothing in it. So I kind of had a feeling we had an issue. So I had to pull it out because it had this cover on it and you couldn't really see the bottom well. And put gas in it, and I did find a hole, which is up here. And so it's rusty inside. So I didn't even want to attempt to clean it out, so we went ahead and got a tank. Now this is sort of a special tank. Unfortunately, it's only 22 gallons, but it's a cabin chassis tank, because the frames on these trucks are narrower than a dually frame or a pickup frame. So the tank's only 22 gallons. I think the bigger tank's like a 34. And would love to have a 34 on there, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, we're just about ready to go ahead and start putting this together. If I can get this on, I've already had the fuel pump hooked to the wiring, and I know the relay's working, everything's working, so we're good with that. So I think if I can get this tank back on there, which is not, I guess it's a little harder than just saying that, because it did have an issue with one of the bolts was turning through and I had to cut it, so we're going to do a little work on that. But if I can get the tank on it and get some fuel in it, then we can get her fired up and see how she's going to run. We're still going to end up having to pull the transmission out, but at least we can get it to a place to where we know we've got a good engine. So maybe we'll pressure wash it. I don't know. All right, let me get at it and see if I can get this thing on there. All right, folks, we're getting a CAT scan now. If I'd have done this first, we'd have known what was wrong with it. Got antenna issues. That's what it is. She's a beacon light, ain't she? Meow. Ornery little kitty. All right. Somebody told me one time that they thought that cat loved me a bunch till it seen it rubbing up against an exhaust manifold. And I told them that it loved exhaust manifolds too. I think she loves everything. Alright folks, I got the tank in. Got to hook up the ground. And we'll get some gas in it. I got this little piece on it. Of course we're going to be pulling this bed off here real soon too. So we just want to make sure we don't get any water inside this tank. Because I'll be redoing the entire fuel fill system anyway, so if this works out okay. And then the boom, I think I've got this thing traded off, possibly. But this is actually in really nice shape. But this is a cabin chassis truck, so the frame, as you can see, kicks in. I like that plated top and bottom all the way. That's nice. But anyway, you can see the way the frame kicks into 34 inches like a standard truck, or standard 1 ton, and that way from here back it's flat. So a dually is 4 inches wider on each side, so it's actually an 8-inch wider truck. So if this was a dually rear end, it would actually be out here. That makes me think that this bed, it's a low side bed sort of. I think these are like possibly western beds, or maybe they're eastern beds. It's one of the two, but anyway, that's what they used to call them. But I think that maybe this was for a single tire, 3/4 ton. And you know, back in the 70s when this was built, or possibly even the 60s, you know, these 440s have been out for a long time, and I mean, this could have been set up for that. But this thing is in excellent shape. It's in better shape than the other one, than the hydraulic bed. But I just don't want the mechanical, I want the hydraulic. And this is more for moving stuff around and things like that than it is anything else. And I may be C-notching and dropping the rear and putting 3-inch drop spindles on the front. We're going to try to make this thing low so I can get into a low area. And there's reasons for that. You know, you got to build for the future, right? Anyway, let me go pour some gas in this thing. We're going to see. I got to get the battery back out of the Studebaker, Rutabaga, and see if we can get this thing started up. We got 2 clowns showed up in a clown mobile. Charlie Wong, what are you doing in this thing? All right. Okay, folks, we're going to give it a try here. I went ahead and put the belt back on. I heard the pump run. So as long as the injectors are firing, we know it will run. It's got a blend door or something that's making noise. When that heater in there bothers the heck out of me. Move this up where we can see it. Make sure it's firing. Oh, push button's unhooked. So I got the key on. We're going to use the push button out here to start it. So if we get this thing, there we go. Oh, there's the driver's side. Oh, there's the passenger side. There. We're going to pull that out anyway. Well, we got this part done. There's that blend door, whatever that is. You know it quit. I'm going to turn it off. You gotta love GM blend doors. Alright, I think that's it. Running good, no smoke, no knocking, good oil pressure. We assume anyway. No tapping or knocking. I can't stand that blend door, it bugs me. It eventually quits, but it takes time. Alright, so the next thing is going to be pulling the transmission out, and we'll see if we can figure out what's wrong with it and get it back in there. I think we'll pull the bell housing and everything too, though, unlike what they done. There you go. All right, good to go.